Hi guys, welcome to Delaware Studios. This is another episode of Android Programming. We'll be talking about Firebase Authentication. But before I proceed, what is Firebase? Firebase is Google's mobile platform that helps you to develop top-notch applications. That's we have underneath is the status. Probably if this is logged in or not, is sign out or sign in. That's just the status of that particular user. We have a button for sign in, and we have another button for create account, for sign out, and for reset password. So that's the layout of this application, and we will be testing them out and getting response from it. We're headed straight to the main activity, which is the whole logic of this implementation. Now we declare those fields: the user text, the status, email text, password that we'll be needing inputs, and we'll also be showing text too. We call the Firebase auth, which is the authentication, create an object, FB auth, and also the state listener of each one of them. Before I proceed further, I want us to notice something. On the sign in, we actually trigger an on click to the sign in method. For the create account, and on click to the create account. Same thing for the sign out method, reset password, a reset password method. So we should now understand how the integration actually went. We need to set the content view to the layout we've just showed, and you need to also initialize those fields, call their IDs, and set them up. Set text is empty, and also the default for the set text, which is the status, is signed out. Now we instantiate the Firebase auth object by getting the instance, and the same thing for the listener. Now the listener, when instantiating with a new states listener, you need to override a method called on authentication states changed. If there's a callback you'll be expecting, that's either sign in or sign out. Now we create a user from the Firebase user, since we're trying to create a Firebase user. Test if it's null. If it's null, it's going to set the text of and get the email of this particular user and set the text to sign in. That's if it's not null, rather. Else, if it's null, it's going to make the field empty, and also tell the status text to populate signed out. So you have that done in the if else statement there, which is for the authentication states change callback. On start, on stop, and this is the life cycle. Let's get to see what happens. We add the auth states listener, which takes the auth listener as its parameter to the authentication object with add. Then on stop is going to remove the listener from the authentication. That's when the app stops, and probably you're heading straight to another application or doing something else with the device. Now let's look at the triggered methods from the on clicks we add in the buttons. The first is the creating of an account, when you have the fields feeding with the email and password. Once you click on the button create account, we have an internal strings declared. These are variables to hold on the user's input field, the email password. We have that, and we test the length of the email to actually be sure that you actually have the correct input. Probably just like validation. Set the error that you need to enter an email address, and the password length too must be greater than 6. So you must have at least 6 characters as a password, just some form of validation. And if you pass all this, we'll move ahead to pass the email and password to the FB authentication object we had, and we trigger the create user with email and password. This is an inbuilt method which has been triggered at this point, and you add an on complete listener to that to actually get that task done. And if the task is not successful, you have the account creation field callback. Let's get to look at the sign in. The same thing happens. You get those data from the input, and we also test all validation, and this time you have to look at this. It's triggering the sign in with email and password method, just like we have here, which is the create user with email, and the same thing has been done. So you have that set up. On sign out, we're going to actually sign out the authentication, Firebase authentication objects. Once you have that signed out, you have it signed out. So that's how to undo the sign out. Let's look at the reset password. We only need your email to reset the password, since the password is tied to an email address. A validation to the email, and you trigger the send password reset email and pass your email variable in there to actually get that done. So you have a notification into your email box to reset your password, and you follow the link. You can create a display from the Firebase console to customize the kind of messages you send and how it's been sent. Get that done in the console. We might look at that later on. And also the notify user. Once you notify, this is a toast to always notify all the callbacks that we're having. It's actually toast to the user. So we've been able to cover basically all aspects mentioned: the create account, the sign in, sign out, and the reset password. So those are the major aspects when it comes to email and password authentication. And look at just with a few lines of code, you have that done, you have that set up, and the Firebase will actually get that done for you. So I'm actually going to be showing the screencast of this particular implementation, so that we'll be able to understand how it is. And if we have more time, we'll look at the Firebase console to actually get some of those templates set up for probably when we are going to be talking about some other aspects of the authentication. So in the next tutorial, we'll head straight to Google authentication. So don't go anywhere.